So I've just gotten back from the Rogue Invitational in Austin. I'm in Tofino with my family, having a nice holiday. It always feels really nice to take a big break and have a holiday after a competition. Feels a lot better when things go well, but that said, my body is in shambles, and I'm happy to be chilling and relaxing and not have any exercise to do this week. I wanted to take a few minutes to just get into what happened on the Rogue Invitational. It's a big competition in the year, and things went really well for me. I was crowned the champion this year for the second time and got to show the young fellas that I still got it. I'm still dangerous out there when I want to be. So we'll go through everything kind of one at a time right from the get-go, and I'll share my thoughts on all the events and the way things turned out this weekend. So check-in at Rogue is really fun. It's like the games pretty much in terms of scale. We get lots of fun, free stuff, and it goes big. And Rogue goes big, Texas goes big. So this year the theme for the check-in was kind of Music City theme. In the past 2 years that we've done it in Austin, the first year was very ranch themed. We got kind of all kinds of nice leather ranching gear, cowboy hats, boots, that kind of stuff. And the next year we competed at Ball Diamond and we got all baseball stuff. I have a nice Rogue branded baseball bat and jersey and all that stuff. And I was curious what they would do this year, but they went with the music theme, and now I have a nice branded Rogue guitar. And I don't really play, but I guess I better learn. And they were nice enough to actually offer to ship it home for us, so I didn't have to try to travel with a big guitar case on top of all my gear that I have to travel with anyways, and a toddler. But it was really cool. We played some Guitar Hero. We got a bunch of cool music stuff, and they set us up for the week. So it's always fun. Rogue check-in and the games check-in are always fun. No matter how many times you do it, you look forward to it. So I feel like that is always a big piece of it at Rogue, is like, what's the theme going to be this year? They always do something cool, and it seems like they never miss. So had a blast doing that. We get to kind of brush shoulders with the strong men and the legends and things, and get oriented. So that first day was really just on Wednesday. We went in, did our check-in, and then we had a briefing. So our briefing after that was just for event one, because we had not heard yet what that was. It was unannounced. Over the course of the day, they actually did announce it prior to the briefing. So we kind of knew what we were getting into before we got in there, but I was pretty shocked at what it was. I expected a Ruck event, but I didn't expect, 100 pounds of weight on your back. So that was, gave me a little stress for the rest of that day. But, not much you can do. Everybody's got to do it. And we weren't starting until the next evening, quite late. So we still had another 24 hours plus to let it marinate, talk to our coaches, figure out how the hell we were going to do it. Thursday at the Rogue Invitational was just a long day of waiting. It sometimes feels funny to sit and do nothing for that long on a competition day. And I always find I feel flat at the end of the day if I don't do anything. So I got up, I had breakfast with my family. My wife and kids stayed with me over the course of the first 2 days of competition before my parents were around, and they went to an Airbnb and gave me a little privacy for the next couple of days so that I could try to get some better sleep. But they were still around. We had breakfast. We hung out for the morning. They went off to go to the park and museum and do a bunch of things with the baby all day. And I kind of wanted to stay off my feet a little bit. So I just sort of hung out, and you get chatting with the other athletes at the hotel, and you're just trying to distract yourself most of the day. Eventually around noon, I went into the gym at the hotel and just did a little 25-minute Peloton workout on the machine there, and a little bit of just kind of core accessory stuff. My coach had a workout to do on the runner, and it was raining, so we just hung out in the gym and did a little powwow. And then eventually, finally, we got to go get started, and the women went first on Thursday. We got set up with our rucks, the feed bags for our backs. We got to see the course. We got to watch the women run it. And it was, I gotta say, I was very impressed and surprised at how fast the women were running with the full weight, the 80 pounds for them. And it made me a little nervous for a race. And the men, it was the same story again. So once we got started, I was a little while at the start line. Actually, I kind of got a little screwed at the start line because they didn't have a start line. And I went to try to position at a good spot, and I asked the volunteer there where the start line was going to be, and then they just kept moving it afterwards. So they kept moving it and then telling us that we had to like readjust and back up. And then I kind of ended up, after all the readjustments, backed into a corner on the outside, and it was just not ideal. But at the end of the day, I don't think it cost me that much. The guys ran fast, and I did what I could in the first section. I didn't want to blow my legs up too much, but there's a part of it where you always feel like the pace is a bit hot and you're curious to see, you know, the guys who can hang on, but I was expecting that a few more guys would blow up. And people hung on real well. So I ended up kind of around the 10th, 11th place and running with BKG and Will Morad for most of the race. And in the last mile, I was hoping I'd have some juice to kick on them, and I just didn't. I was a bit tapped, and every time you try to push on them, they would push back, and we were just kind of holding everybody at arm's length. And it seems like that was the story for everybody. For the most part, wherever you were in that last mile, people stayed pretty consistent, and there wasn't a lot of passing that happened in the last mile. So that was a long run. It felt pretty miserable for most of it. And it was it was 20 minutes, and you felt every minute of it. So I was a little worried after that event that my quads and calves might not recover. I was fighting cramps for like the last 5 minutes of that race and just trying to not explode. And anyways, great way to start. We started off with a bang. I'm very impressed with some of the top guys, how they managed that and the pace they were able to hold. I'm here to tell you, it's not easy to run with 100 pounds on your back. So anyway, I finished 13th. Wasn't the best start, not the worst. Now, showing up on Friday, we only had 2 events. Both had a pretty significant gymnastics component to them, and also something new to it, which I like. Those are that's wheelhouse for me. So the plan was to just try to make up points. I was lucky. I showed up and found out that they didn't reseed after the first day. So I was still in the second heat, the top heat of men, which is nice. You get to compete against the best people, or who should be, you think, the best anyway. So first event of that day was the log muscle ups. I had done that before last year, had a little more experience with it than most guys, was successful enough with it last year. The only guys that beat me were Ricky and Justin, I think, and Justin wasn't there. And go figure, Ricky beat me again. But it was, to me, it looked a bit like a workout about how risky do you want to be on the log. You can send it on pretty big sets early, but you might pay for it on that last round. And I think being able to still chew up reps on the last round is really valuable. So compared to what I did last year, I was quite aggressive last year, and it cost me a little bit at the end, whereas this year I went more conservative with smaller, consistent sets, and it went great. I was fortunate, actually. I was right next to Chandler. We were on a pretty similar strategy, so I think we kept each other honest and pulled each other over to a pretty strong finish. I expected the squats to be easier than they were. They added up a lot. That last set of 5, you didn't want to do 5, that's for sure. And the log was just about getting back up as quick as you could. I talked to Ricky afterwards, and he took a super aggressive strategy. I think I went like 5 sets of 4, 5 sets of 3, and then I went 3, 3, 2, 2 on the last set. And he did like 3 sets on the set of 20, 3 sets on the set of 15, and then he just scrambled to the finish, which it buys you lots of time. And, could blow up in your face, but you could be a hero. And this time he was the hero. So I won my heat, but got to give a cool finger guns celebration, but wasn't enough to win the event. So second place is great. It's good recovery from the first event of the competition. So I was happy with that. Hi, buddy. Who's that? What did you do in the end? I didn't see. I knew your time.
I fucked up the back squat. The last one, I racked it. Did you see it?
No, I heard it though.
I racked it and ran off, and he's like, didn't stand it up.
Pat, real question. How much thought do you put into your celebrations for these events?
Oh, I had that one in the back pocket. Not much. I feel like these days I try to think a bit more about it, especially places like this where the finish line is kind of epic and you're running into the middle of the diamond. It's fun. You got to have something, and I mean something's are thematic to Texas, right? Yeah. You do the shooters, you ride the bull in, you can do a lasso. There's a few things that I'm like, hey, we're in Texas, maybe I'll whip these out. But they don't make sense if you do it at the games or Wadapalooza. It's out of context.
So we're gonna see the bull later?
Maybe. I gotta win another heat.
The third event, second event of Friday, was just rain delayed forever. We were sitting on pins and needles waiting, and again the men went first this time, so we just kept getting pushed back by about 20 minutes at a time. The first heat would warm up, be ready to go. Everybody would do their final sprints on the ski. They'd go line up, and then they'd get called back into the training area, the warm-up area, and it happened 4 times or so. We just kept getting pushed. And we were all curious how it was going to go, if we were going to actually do it, or what the monkey bars would be like if they were soaking wet. They aren't the grippiest bars at baseline, and a lot of the legends used them in the earlier part of the day, and they all told us that they ripped their hands. So we were curious to see how that would play out. And in the end, once one heat takes the field, it's on, and once they've got somebody doing it, everybody needs to do the same test. So we went out, and I had kind of an idea what I wanted to ski. I was going to ski a little better than 1400 cal per hour throughout and try to just be consistent every round. The dumbbell was fun because it was shaped fun, but it didn't move any differently than a normal 100-pound dumbbell, I'd say. I think it was a pretty non-factor for the most part. Didn't get any no reps, was fine. They changed it because of the rain, that it was supposed to be done unbroken on the monkey bars, like one direction unbroken, the other direction unbroken. But they allowed us with the wetness to break anywhere you wanted, and you could just jump back up. But it wasn't a good advantage to do that. Once you had momentum, you wanted to keep it. So I just sort of stuck with what I was trying to do. It's hard to know where you're at in a workout like that until the third round anyway. So Roman was clearly winning the workout on the ski. And, I think he probably skied 1600, and I wasn't going to do that. So by the time I got off the last ski, I think he was already, he was like 10 cals ahead of me on the last ski, which is a lot of ground to make up. So he had won the workout. I was in a pretty close race with Brent. I came off the monkey bars on the last round there, and he went unbroken and came second. So I took third in that event, which is terrific. But I didn't really notice until I was running to the finish. I ripped the hell out of my hands. I had blisters, fat blisters on both of my palms. They're not bad now. They're recovering fine. But I didn't really notice it. And I think I must have ripped them on the way back on the last set, because I can't imagine how I wouldn't have noticed. But I sort of looked down, and I had blood all over my hands. I was like, maybe that's why I was slipping a little more than I thought I should be. But that was, all in all, a good way to end the second day. Took a second and a third on Friday, which more than makes up for my weaker event on the Thursday, and set me up for a great weekend. So I don't know, I was super happy. Killer Cage is sweet to redo too. It's always fun to see old stuff come back like that and play with new things. So we wake up Saturday, moving day. The day looked like a lot of hurry up and wait. We had a long day on the schedule, but actually not a lot of work. Like the first event had a lot of reps in it, but the next two were not a lot of reps. It was really slow moving. It was a lot of rest, but they were scheduled to take a very long time, and they did. So first workout was the 10th inning, 10 rounds of the muscle-ups, handstand push-ups, and snatches. Any workout with that many handstand push-ups, I'm not really that confident in. Kipping helps a little bit, but especially with all the lockout on the ring muscle-ups and the snatch, it's just, my overhead endurance isn't as good as some of those guys, and it wears me out. So I got a lot of distance to cover on those handstand push-ups, and I tried to strategize around that a bit, run into the muscle-ups, try to get up right away, and be smart on the snatch, like do sets of 4, try to be quick on the barbell back on, and it worked really well for most of the event. I did start to slow down a fair amount on the handstand push-ups, and I saw BK catching me on the last round, and there wasn't much I could do. I think he just was a little sharper on the handstands. I had a mental lapse at the very end of that workout where I broke the last set of handstand push-ups to try to kind of set myself up for the last sprint. And then I just sort of bailed on the last sprint. I went to the bar and I did a set of 8 and 4 instead of just doing the last 12 and going in. And Victor Hoffer scooped me from the prior heat by 1 second. So had I not broke the barbell or not broke the handstand push-ups, I would have been 3rd overall in that event. And that was just like a little bit of, I think after a long event like that, I was checking out a little bit early. So, lesson learned on that one. It's too bad. But I'm actually really happy with how that event went down. If I'm going to lose in a handstand push-up workout to Noah Olson, BKG, and Victor Hoffer, that's a pretty good day. So I'm pretty happy with how that one went. I got maybe 1 no rep or 2 no reps on the handstand push-ups. They were being pretty strict, and I think they held people pretty accountable, but that was a fun workout. You had to kind of just get in a rhythm, and it got pretty miserable by the end, but you just had to sort of keep like a metronome on your rhythm, and not look around too much, because things could get hopeless pretty fast. It was a little wet, rained a little bit, but I don't think it affected that workout much. And yeah, I'm actually really happy with that one. It was a nice one to get done, because that was a pretty grindy workout, lots of reps. Everyone's low backs were pretty stiff with all the snatching after that one, but having that one out of the way, the rest of the day relative to that was like, didn't hurt, I guess, was simple and easy. Hands held up on the muscle ups, nothing to worry about. Straightforward CrossFit workout. It was a good time. And then the dual. So the dual, they changed when we first showed up that day. They took the rope climb out. It was meant to be logs over, under, over, 1 rope climb, any style, and then the bags, which I would have loved. I think I would have done really, really well at that. I was already quite good on the logs, and I think I'm a good fast rope climber, and I could have created more separation over some of the big guys with the extra rope climb in, but it is what it is. I think they called it off because there was some rain sprinkling off and on throughout the day. And unlike the day before when we only had 2 events, with a full schedule that day, they didn't have the luxury of being able to push everything back too much and still execute the day the way they wanted to. So they opted for no risk, and we did that event with no rope climb, and it was still pretty exciting, but very little room for error, very little separation between people. So you had to be on top of, like, get your chip timer foot out front, know where you're going. They had some chip timer issues, so that's why people might wonder why they had us touching the box. And it was a fail safe for if our chip timer didn't go off, which they did for the whole workout. So it was fine, but they had, I think, 2 or 3 different clocks timing when we touched the block, and they were averaging those stopwatch times as our secondary time for if the chip didn't go off. But that was a fun workout. The dual is stressful as hell, though. The first year we did it, every year I've been in the top 5 going into the dual, so I get the bye. The first year, that workout had 205 squat snatches in it for a triple, and the people who got the bye had about an hour between the time you left the warm-up area to the time you did that snatch, and we were just iced. It was such a terrible disadvantage to be in the top 5. The next year, it was just 135 overhead squats, and they had warm-up equipment down at the bottom, which they didn't the year prior. So that was a little bit better. Still, the speed at which people are turning over overhead squats at that weight made it a judge game. And to the credit of the Rogue team, they did an awesome job every year of kind of taking feedback and revamping that style of event to make it as objective as possible and get rid of some of the possibility for issues like that. So this year, even with the rope climb, it was pretty objective. Like, you cross through the course, you touch the beam, and you just load the things. If they're in, you're good, and then you're off. And so there was no huge. This year also, they let the bye heat go first in the second round instead of last, which gives us a little bit of less time too. But man, you're cold. You're stressed because instead of having the whole field, now they've dropped the 5 slowest people. So you don't even have a little bit of a buffer of at least some of the worst guys are in there, and maybe you can scoop some of them. You're now racing the 10 best, and you got to come in without having tested the course, and they all get their second run at it. So it's I won my heat in the first round with a little mistake, picking up the last sandbag, and that made me happy because at least I only needed to beat one other guy out of the next 2 heats. So pulled that off. And managed to improve every round. I think the farther you go into an event like that, the riskier you kind of have to be. You don't get the luxury of getting your hand placement right. You've got to just kind of go. And if it goes, then you pass through to top 5, and then you're guaranteed a top 5 finish. And if it doesn't go, you get cut, but maybe you would have got cut anyways if you went slower and took longer to set your hands and that kind of thing. So it gets a little more breakneck the farther you go, but it's exciting. And it's funny, the farther you go, it's good. It sucks to get eliminated early, I think. They don't let you leave the dugout, so you have to sit there and watch everybody else palling around and having fun. But, you know, you can't worry about everybody. I had fun. Everybody's chatting away, and I managed to scoop some guys at the end and steal third in that event, which was huge, especially because I think after the 10th inning event, it put me into first overall, and the guys who were right behind me all dropped out quite early. So I built a big buffer after that event. So, you know, that feels pretty good. It was an exciting event. I love athletic events like the over-unders and stuff like that. I think it's super fun. That one turned into a bit of a big guy slugfest. Like, I think the heat of 5, everybody was 6'2", or except for Travis and me. And Travis is, I think, 6 foot or 6'1". And yeah, anyway, it was a big guy event. And I think with the Rogue climb, it might have been a little less that, but it was fun. I was great. I got a lot of feedback from people that I was really fast on the logs. But unfortunately for me, that part didn't really matter that much. It was really all about the sandbags. So I could have gone for like a few more logs and it would have been a really great day. But overall, any event like that that's elimination, you got to be happy. Like if you are even in the top 5, that's a great day because anything can happen. So extremely stressful, but it's nice. It feels like the reward is extra big when they're that stressful. It feels extra good when you pull it off. After the duel, we were a little delayed with that event, and then we had to go into the deadlift, which was a late event, and it ended up starting quite late also. Men were going second, so the women went through a lot of bars. They took a little longer to finish, I think, than the team thought, and after they finished, we had to wait. We were on the field they had about 3 left warming up, and they brought us down pretty early, and then they told us we had to do the Strongman Awards after the women finished before we started. And so we were just kind of waiting around. It was just, you had to wait forever to get started. And it was a little annoying, but it is what it is. And then we got to do that fun little jerry can tie break, which is hilarious and I think super irrelevant. And I did terrible at it this year because I fumbled picking up my bag. So I had probably one of the worst tie breaks in the field, but fortunately for me, I have a pretty good deadlift. So I was hopeful it wouldn't really matter. And it was like, I don't know, it's sort of a bro down out there. You're just kind of sitting on the field, hanging out, hoping that other people are going to miss. And I got to say, I never deadlift heavy. I haven't deadlifted it as heavy as I did that day since 2018. And I ended up with the same weight at 595. In 2018, I did it in 3 lifts in 4 minutes. And in 2023, it took me, 14 bars in an hour and a half. So there's a lot of CNS, like a lot of just, the guys who went deep had to do an extra 5 bars at 95, 99%, which is hard on your body. So it's a lot of wear and tear just pulling. And in the end, you know, I made probably a dumb decision competition wise, but you got to do things sometimes. So we cut down to 3. A bunch of people missed 595 and 585. So we moved to 595 and they put us on the small platform in the front. And at that point, I'm guaranteed top 3. Again, all the guys who are kind of in the hunt behind me in the overall standings are not around and have dropped out earlier. So I didn't want to do any more lifts. And I was kind of looking around to find my coach to just give her the look and the thumbs up of just so you know, this is what I'm going to do. And then it felt a bit cheesy to the fact that they progressed from 4 platforms to 2 to 1. It felt lame to get to the last platform and then not do any lifts and bow out. So I figured, I'll do 1 lift on the big platform and then I'll stop. And at the time, Chandler was still looking super strong. Tudor was still looking super strong. And so I did my 1 and I was lifting last because I had the highest placement going into that day. Next round, bars 605 and Tudor's lifting first and he misses. And I was like, now I was quite sure that Tudor owned the tie break over me, but now if I hit it, then I'm second. Whereas if he had hit it, even if I hit it, I'm still third. So now I was kind of like, maybe there's something to play for here. And I got a lot of heat in 2018 for not pulling 600. So now I had a loaded 605 bar right in front of me and a chance to just get 5 more points. So I figured I would give it a shot, and I should have got it. I was like most of the way up. The deadlift bars, the knurling is quite aggressive, and my hands were not in good shape. After the snatch workout too, I had some new blisters on my pinkies and thumbs, and so I had like kind of tears all over my hands. And I was lifting with mostly my fingers for most of the deadlifts because I didn't want to grip in my palm and shred my hands up. And when I got to about my knees, I started, like, your fingers just aren't enough, and it started to sort of peel my fingers open. And that aggressive knurling, when it's moving, like, your skin's not moving, the bar's just pulling your skin off. So there's not really sliding. My hands aren't like letting the bar go. The bar's stuck to my fingers and they're just ripping my fingers off. So I decided partway through that I was gonna drop the bar and save my fingers for Sunday. So at the end of the day, same weight. I missed the 605, and you know, Chandler got to take the walk-off win, which is nice. And he did an extra bar and tired himself out for the next day. But overall, I was super happy with that. I think I got everything I needed to out of that. And I mean, that was a great day on Saturday. Fourth, third, bumped myself up to about a 90-point advantage going into the last day, which feels really good. You don't have to do anything too special on Sunday. But yeah, I got my photo anyway, so it was good. I don't hate when a deadlift comes up in competition. Despite not training it much, I've still got it in there somewhere. So showing up on Sunday, the weather took a huge change. It was way colder and pouring rain all morning. So we showed up and immediately there was a bunch of information about changes to most of the events of the day. So we were immediately told that there would be no pegboards that day, and immediately told that the Hulk hands workout was going to change the way they lunged and stuff like that. They did help us out because the men finished quite late on the deadlift. They shifted so that the women would start on Sunday instead of the men. We were supposed to go late and then start early, and they hooked us up a little bit. So by the time we got there, decisions were made. It was the way it was. I was still a little surprised we went overhead with those heavy cannonballs, but it was fine. There was mostly no issues in that workout. I think a couple bikes maybe malfunctioned. I was hoping to hang into like a top, like maybe a 5th place position in that workout. I lost a little discipline on the clean or the ground to overhead at the end, coming back, which cost me a bit. And I ended up having to push the bike a lot harder than I wanted to, which hurt a lot. I'll tell you right now, I got to the back and was in a really bad shape and tried to kind of take some sugar in, drink some water, immediately threw up. Was just not really feeling awesome. Overall, I was like, you know, I think I slept okay the last 2 nights of the competition, but I would say Friday night, Saturday night, I didn't sleep great. So maybe I was a little tired and a little whatever, but I think I poisoned myself a little bit on that last bike. And I was trying to make sure that I thought I had enough to pass Brent and Jeff on the bike, and I just didn't. So I kind of sent it hard, and I feel like I didn't even get the payoff. But that was a pretty cool workout. It would have been a little more fun with the walking lunge, I think. It was funny to see how everybody kind of slid down the hill. I tried to, at that point of the competition, thinking we were going to do hill runs in the next workout, I ran down the hill to see how it was so that I could be prepared for it in the next event. And it went fine, and then at the end of the day, they took them out of the next workout anyway. So take home on that one. That was like one I had earmarked for the weekend as being maybe the most painful workout, just given that it's a lot of grunt work and then a hard echo bike at the end. And it lived up to the hype. I was in a bad way at the end of that event. So went back to the warm-up area, and Sunday, because of running 3 events and the awards ceremony and getting everyone out of the venue, we only had about an hour recovery between events. So I was a little nervous after that one, that, you know, a 90-point lead isn't big enough if you can't show up onto the field for the next 2. So I bled some points to both Roman and Jeff on that one. Not a lot. Plan, honestly, for the day was to play the game a little bit, keep Jeff within a spot or 2 on most of the events, and then just go into the last workout with quite a big lead and not have to do anything crazy. Getting on the last bike was funny too, because the fans filled with water. The kettlebells too, they fill with water, those things, so when you flip them upside down on the way back, you dumped water all over yourself. And then on the last bike, when you turned it on, the fan kicked water all over your face. So it was just fun. It was interesting to do the workout in the rain. I think everybody, before we walked outside, was standing in the warm-up area going, my God, this is going to be miserable. And then once you're doing it, you don't really think about it. You just do the work and you get done and you get out of there. And it's kind of fun and kind of epic now that you're like on the other side of it. Once you're done it and you're warm again and you're fine, it's like, it's sweet. It was very cool to do it in the rain. The photos look sweet. I can't complain. It was pretty fun. So next event with the high box jumps also got changed a bunch. We got briefed in the back that instead of pegboards, we would do handstand walks. We got told after the first event that now there would be no hill run. We would just go box jumps, handstand walk out in the field, run to the bottom of the hill, and then run all the way back to your box, which made it like a bit of a sprint workout. We were going second. We watched the women go. As it turns out, we were doing handstand walks both ways. So back handstand walk out, run to the hill, run back, handstand walk back. So there was actually double the handstand walk to what we got briefed, which is, you know, a significant difference. I'm fine on my hands, but like, you know, overhead endurance, that kind of stuff is where I start to wear out. And I think there's guys who are better. So again, I looked at this workout. I was in the lane right next to Jeff and I said, I'm just going to try to stay really right next to him. They changed the rules as well. We didn't have to do it unbroken in case the field was slippery. I think that if you wanted to be sleazy, you probably could have crushed this workout by sprinting the first 3 rounds, blowing up your arms, and then in the last 2 rounds, we were allowed to use the old standard of handstand walk where you could kick over the line to start instead of kicking up behind the line. And then if you kick down part way, they would mark it with their foot, the judge, and then you were allowed to kick over that line. So you could have just done the 50-foot section in, you know, 3 or 4 attempts, and you'd be jumping, you'd be gaining an extra free 4 or 5 feet every time with the kick up. So if you wanted to be greasy, you probably could have done that in the last 2 rounds and smoked a top 3 time. But I don't think anybody really did it. I didn't see it. So I don't know. I just did my job, stayed close. The box jumps got a little hard. Your heart rate got up a little bit. There like wasn't enough space to pick up speed running. So it felt like a lot of acceleration, deceleration. In the end, again, I got middled by Noah in the last round. And in the workout before, I got middled by Brent at the very end on the bike. So I was losing a little ground to Jeff, unfortunately, more than I wanted to, but I think I just kind of did what I needed to do on that event, which isn't a great way to compete, but I don't know. I just sort of was playing in that one. And I was, to be honest, I was still recovering a little bit from that bike. I don't think I had a 5th gear to tap into really. So it was a lower heart rate event and I was thankful for that. Cause yeah, I was still, my guts weren't still thanking me for that first effort of the day. And then on to the last one of the weekend, we had the cleanup, which was just, you know, cleans and double unders. Pretty straightforward. I didn't have my rope with me. I had to go send an Osakul to go save my rope from the hotel and bring it back. So that was fun, but we did that in the concourse underneath the bleachers, I guess. So it was kind of a different location. It was weird. It was like an intimate, small spectator area that was right up against us. And even the warm-up area, kind of fans basically just had access to the warm-up area. So we all had to go down together and you just were down there from the time the first heat got called, and we warmed up a bit down there, but it was really cold. So you were down with sweaters on, kind of standing with fans and just trying to warm up some little cleans and skipping. And it was a quick one. It was like, there wasn't much to it, not much thinking. We kind of got a little glance of what the other heats were doing, but you couldn't really watch or see it from where we were. So we couldn't see clocks. We could barely watch the heats. You know, it was pretty evident that the clean and jerk at the end was the most valuable, but you couldn't really waste a lot of time elsewhere. I'm pretty comfortable with my clean. I haven't been doing a ton of weightlifting in the last little bit here. So I thought it'd be fine. You know, I had a pretty big lead, 65 points or so at that point. So I told myself a full effort was good enough. And at the end of the day it was, but only just. I tried to not, given how the first 2 events were, and I always felt like I was sort of leaning back a little bit after Friday, Saturday. I tried to be more aggressive in the last event and just like stamp it. And you know, I was on the last round at the clean and jerks. I did the first 3 and then I could feel my legs losing a little bit of gas. got my fourth one in, and then you just you can sit there. Like, I knew I had time. I could sit there and rest 10 seconds and do the last lift, or you can just do it and be done, and be assertive and be aggressive and have some confidence. So, I grabbed the bar, and when I've watched the replay since, and I missed the fifth lift, and then I take, I don't panic. I take a little time, and I hit the last one. But my last one that I hit is actually kind of uglier than the one that I missed. So I don't know what the misfire was really on the one that I missed. I think just maybe with all the handstand walk and the event prior, I was a little soft in the elbows and lacking a little bit in the hips. But it was nice to have a little gas. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't having a little flashback there. And as soon as I missed the one, it was like, a very brief pep talk of like, it's fine, don't panic, but you got to hit the next one. And I'm glad that I did. And it wasn't as close as I thought it was going to be. But that event is, seconds matter. So as soon as you miss one of those and you lose 10 seconds, that's a lot of guys coming in. So, all things considered, I would have preferred to hit that first one and take like a 6th place finish or something in that event over the 10th place that I took. But I don't know. In a matter of a month, I don't think anybody will remember how it happened anyway. Actually, forget it. It's me. Of course they will. People will be talking about it for years, just like they will never let me forget about the run, swim, run, or things like that. But you know what? At the end of the day, they don't ask how, they ask how many. So I managed to take the win, and I'm pumped about it. Now the holiday feels a whole lot sweeter. I've got a little bit of time now to regroup. We've got another off-season event coming up that's a little lower key, some team stuff, and then got Wodapalooza to look forward to on the horizon. So just enjoying it, spending some time with my family, trying to be kind to my body, getting back to some fun training, and then looking forward to next year. I think it's cool to be able to pull it off at Rogue and show that I'm still competitive in that group. So I'm pumped about the next year. I think it's invigorating. It gets you motivated again. And that competition is just fun. The amount of time we spend just with the Rogue team, with the other athletes in the locker rooms and things like that, you get to know each other a lot better. You spend a lot more time, and it's super fun, I think, for everybody involved. So, it's a privilege to be a 2-time champ at Rogue. And the last time I won, it was the online version, and it was a lot smoother. But I'm happy to lock up another win and be a 2-time champ at Rogue. There's not very many of them. So that's what's going on. I might have more news for you guys soon. But otherwise, I'll see you guys on the competition floor somewhere. I'm always out there. I love to compete. I'll be back out there soon. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the recap and enjoyed following along during the Rogue Invitational. I will hopefully start doing a little more of this again soon. So like and subscribe to the channel. I've just been on a little bit of a hiatus doing off-season mode, but the season's about to ramp back up again real soon. It always comes faster than you want it. And I think we'll have some more content coming around your guys' way. So tag along, tune in. Love having you guys around. Cheers.